Thank you. I want to begin by saying this is a true honor, as diversity and inclusion is a true passion of mine. My story begins in Washington, D.C., where I grew up with the great dream of becoming the first black president of the United States of America. Well, of course, that noun has to be revised, but now that dream is to become the very first African-American gay black president of North America. So growing up in DC, I started a career working within the hospitality industry, then going on to different organizations, and then finally landed at Syngenta, where I'm currently in a role as an internal communications manager. Had the opportunity to relocate to North Carolina, Greensboro. I actually split some of my time between Research Triangle Park and Greensboro. Great company. We have a great mission of feeding the world, a growing population, so I'm excited every day when I go to work about the mission of our organization, because growing up in Washington, D.C., there could be areas where you have a food desert, and it's important for our company to do the work that we do. So when I moved to North Carolina in this role in 2014, I happened to be online reading an article by the New York Times discussing the fact that John Brown, the former BP CEO, could not be his true authentic self as a CEO of an organization. That article truly struck me because before coming to Syngenta in other roles, I was proudly out as a gay man. I did not hide it and didn't feel the need to hide it. When I came to Syngenta, I didn't necessarily feel the need to hide it, but the culture just didn't seem like it was something that I should fully bring to work. So after reading this article, I thought to myself, if a CEO cannot be his full self, like, we have a problem. So I said, then I need to be a part of the solution here. And right around that same time, Syngenta, we're a global organization, rolled out our global diversity and inclusion policy. So I stood up and said, I want to be a part of the action to make this true to life for all employees. So today, my talk is mac and cheese, the ingredients you should consider for creating an actionable diversity and inclusion plan, because that's what it's about. It's about action. We can sit here and talk about diversity and inclusion all we want, but until we put it to action, it's for naught. I am a bit of a foodie, so that's why the connotation to mac and cheese. And actually this came about sitting at the dinner table with my partner. We were discussing the different ingredients of mac and cheese, and I just said, oh, this would be a great concept to put towards this diversity and inclusion talk. So putting the yummy-tastic in diversity and inclusion. So yummy-tastic is a phrase that I coined. I would like to think I was the first to coin it on all of my social medias. I am a foodie, so I like to cook. I like to experience fine cuisines. And so when I do, I post this hashtag yummy-tastic. So you think about mac and cheese, that loved food that we all love to eat, maybe as a kid or even as adults. Well, I challenge us to throw away the powdery Kraft macaroni and cheese and go to like what you see here in this picture. When I make macaroni and cheese, it's not coming from a box. I can assure you of that. And so we really have to put the yummy-tastic into our diversity and inclusion efforts. So what does this mean? We have to look at the missions of our organizations, the goals of our organizations, and I propose truly turn them upside down. So for ag industry, it's looking at the pathology of agriculture and try to understand what was it that got us to this point where we don't feel like we can be our true authentic selves at work. So in a couple of easy steps, I've pared this presentation down, so we're gonna have just a few steps. So it's turning up the heat. You gotta preheat your oven. So turning up the heat means you are challenging your organization. You're having these frank bold, courageous conversations and demanding that everyone takes part in this. It's not something that happens in the C-suite alone. It's not something that happens in HR. It takes everyone. So again, challenging the organization, putting the organization under fire, and really making them address diversity and inclusion. So step 2, again, be bold, mix things up. So, at our organization, we're part of the ag industry. Just recently, I challenged one of our global leaders to participate in an ag-related conference that focuses on LGBT agriculturalists, and he stood up to that challenge and did a phenomenal job. Came out to Des Moines, Iowa, and spoke. With that, Syngenta has been very conservative when it comes to our efforts on, social media or patting ourselves on the back, so to speak. So part of that engagement, we had the opportunity to post what we were doing in the space with Cultivating Change as the organization. And then even tonight, if you'll follow Syngenta US on Twitter, they are tweeting that I am at this event, and it just makes it known that we are out there and diversity and inclusion is important to us. And then focus on your superstars. So focus on your employees. So this, for me, in the mac and cheese analogy is, what I think makes great mac and cheese is when you have tons of different cheeses in it. So this represents the diversity in your organization, so the people. So establishing employee resource groups, giving people the space and the opportunity to be their full, authentic selves. And then you gotta serve it up. So you can't just kind of talk about it. You really gotta put the action behind it and make sure that everyone gets a seat at the table there. So understanding that diversity and inclusion is not only good just for society, but it's also good for the bottom line of your organization.